Welcome back, Sebastian here. So time for my review for the 2023 Italian Grand Prix. So it started with Sainz on pole and Verstappen second alongside. And there was already drama before the race even got started. As the drivers were completing their formation laps, Tsunoda unfortunately pulled over to the side of the track to retire the car basically because of an engine failure. And because it basically got stuck in gear, they had to basically abort the start. There was a 20-minute delay, and then they got going again eventually. Most drivers were starting on the medium tires, but some were going on the hard tire, including Hamilton. So a little bit of a mix-up in strategy there. And even on the formation lap, Leclerc was already complaining about the handling of the car in right-hand corners. And I just thought to myself, like, just please don't let this be a repeat of Spain where he's basically seconds off the pace every lap. But luckily for him, it would not be the case. We eventually get going. Sainz and Verstappen have a really clean start. They stay 1-2. But Piastri gets ahead of Albon a bit further down the field. On to lap 2 we go, and Albon repasses Piastri at turn 4 for P6, so reclaiming the position he lost on the opening lap. Lap 4, according to Verstappen's radio, Sainz's tires were already sliding and he was already starting to really have problems with tire wear. Lap 6, Verstappen has his first attempt for a move into turn 1 but doesn't make it stick. Lap 8, Russell is being pressured by Perez, so really early on it was really obvious that the Red Bulls had really good race pace. Lap 11, Perez tries to go around the outside of turn 1, but Russell outbrakes him and manages to stay ahead. And Gasly pits for the hard tires, so first driver to pit for tires pretty early, I thought, especially since everyone was starting on the mediums and no one took the soft tires today. Lap 12, Zhou pits and Lawson overtakes Hülkenberg as well. Lap 13, Magnussen pits for mediums. Lap 14, Perez gets past Russell on the shortcut at turn 1, but he has to re-give the position because otherwise it would be a slam dunk penalty. Lawson pits as well. Lap 15, Sainz basically has a bit of a lockup at turn 1, and this is the crucial moment of the race. Verstappen basically has a lot more momentum and gets past Sainz for the lead of the race around the outside of turn 3, which of course then becomes the inside of turn 4. So really good move there by Verstappen. And Sargent and Hülkenberg both pit that lap. Following lap, Perez decides to follow his teammate and overtakes Russell for P4 at turn 1. So really good move there. And as I believe Russell was saying on the radio, the undercut did look very powerful. Lawson Lawson was just ahead of Hülkenberg when they both pit, and when they both came out, I believe Lawson pitted a lap or 2 earlier. The gap had grew quite to about like 3 to 4 seconds. So undercut definitely looks like the way to go. Lap 17, Leclerc was now putting Sainz under pressure, so a bit of an inter-Ferrari team battle here, but they stayed clean at this point. Lap 18, Sainz's tires were almost done, and he was really struggling with the tires on the radio. So as a result, a couple laps later, he decides to pit, but not before they showed a graphic which showed that Sainz was basically losing a second a lap to Verstappen because his tires were so badly worn. So really showing the difference in race pace and tire management between the Red Bull and the Ferrari. Lap 21, Verstappen pits Leclerc 2, but Sainz comes out just ahead of Leclerc. So a bit of a tough break for Leclerc there, not to be able to get ahead of Sainz. Lap 22, Perez pits, and he comes out right behind Leclerc. So the Red Bull is so fast that the undercut barely does anything for the Ferrari. Lap 23, Norris pits, and Russell and Ocon are under investigation because when Russell basically came out of the pits after his pit stop, he cut turn 2 and didn't give the position back to Ocon. I know Ocon was miles off the pace today, but still they were racing for position and he didn't give that position back. So he was given a 5-second penalty. Not the first time a Mercedes would get a 5-second penalty today, but lap 24, Piastri pits and Norris basically stays just ahead of him, but it's very, very close and there's actually contact between the two at turn 1. But luckily, no damage for either driver. Lap 25, Leclerc is still putting tons of pressure and harrying Sainz all the time. and Verstappen at this point is basically just driving off into the distance. Lap 28, Hamilton pits for the medium tires, so a little bit of an early stop. I thought they would have gone to about lap 30, but I guess the hard tires weren't lasting as long as people were thought, and he comes out right behind Alonso. And the next lap, lap 29, he promptly makes a good move, overtakes Alonso for P9. Lap 31, very close between Perez and Leclerc, and this I thought was a little bit of a hairy moment. Leclerc basically pushes Perez right to the edge of the outside of turn 4. Perez goes on the grass. You can see like momentarily lose control of the car. And to me, it looked almost identical to the move between Hamilton and Leclerc battling for the lead in 2019. There was no penalty then. There was a move, I believe, last year or the year before, where Ocon got a penalty for basically doing that exact thing. But, you know, the stewards don't really like to give penalties to Ferrari drivers at Monza. We know that. So we keep going, and lap 32, Perez does get past Leclerc for P3 at turn 1, halfway down the straight. Perez must have gotten an absolutely amazing run out of Parabolica to get the move done basically halfway down the straight. But luckily that's done now. Obviously for Perez, yeah, he's lucky that it's done now. Gasly pits for a second time, so Alpine's really having a horrible race, needing to do a two-stop strategy. Lap 34, Lawson and Zhou pit as well. And, you know, for Lawson, I think he could have stayed out. I think if he had stayed out, he could have finished P10. But they decided to do a two-stop strategy. I don't know if that was out of necessity or if that was something that they had planned from the start. Lap 36, Norris putting pressure on Albon. Albon really starting to struggle with his tires. Lap 37, Hamilton thinks his race is over due to his tires. Wouldn't be the case, but still, they decided to broadcast the radio. Lap 38, Norris basically cuts turn 2 again, but has to give the place back to Albon. Lap 40, Hamilton starting to put pressure on Norris and Albon ahead of him. Or I guess on Piastri as well, because Piastri at this point was still part of that train. Hamilton and Piastri make contact at turn 4. Basically, Hamilton does the exact same thing that Leclerc did to Perez the lap a bit earlier. The difference is that they make contact, and Piastri ends up with a broken front wing, and his race is basically ruined. It's under investigation right away, and Hamilton is given a 5-second penalty. Lap 43, Sainz and Perez have a good battle, but Perez basically misses P2. Lap 44, Bottas overtakes Sargent for P10. Sargent would then later get a 5-second penalty for basically contact there, but then somehow ended up behind. So not sure what happened. They never showed a replay on TV. I'll have to go dig it up later and see if I can find it. But nonetheless, not great for Sargent. Lap 45, Perez cuts turn 2 again, and Hamilton overtakes Norris. Lap 46, Perez and Sainz overtake Sainz at turn 1 for P2. So good move there for Perez, and makes it a Red Bull 1-2. Lap 47, Sainz and Leclerc very, very close. Leclerc gets ahead at turn 1, but doesn't get a ton of momentum going out of turn 2. So Sainz is basically able to pull up and retakes the position at turn 4. And Hamilton overtakes Albon for P6 as well on turn 1. Lap 49, Norris overtakes Albon, but then is repassed by Albon as well. So good battling there between Norris and Albon. Lap 51, final lap of the race, Leclerc goes for one final move at turn 1, locks up quite heavily, very, very close to Sainz. If that had been contact and they DNF, that would have been, well, we don't know what would have happened, but we're just glad that nothing happened there. Doesn't get ahead, so Leclerc stays behind, and Sainz were to stay ahead. So Verstappen duly takes a checkered flag, 10th win in a row, new Formula 1 record, and new record for the constructors as well, 15 straight wins for Red Bull. Good, so let's go over the results of the race. So Verstappen first, Perez second, really good result for the team, and really good drive for Perez, I thought. Sainz third, Leclerc fourth Russell, Hamilton sixth, so the 5-second penalty was not particularly effective. He basically was 6 or 7 seconds clear of Albon and Norris at the end of the race. So 7th Albon, 8th Norris, very, very close on the line between the two of them. 9th Alonso, and 10th Bottas, really good result for him. First points in a long time. 11th Lawson, honestly, really good result for him. Climbing back up to 11th after the second pit stop. Would have been interesting to see where he would have finished if they did the one-stop strategy. And unfortunately for the team, Tsunoda didn't start the race, so he basically didn't really have a comparison with his teammate. Lap 12th Piastri, a bit of an unfortunate result for him. 13th Sargent, 14th Show, 15th Gasly, 16th Stroll. Absolutely shocker for Stroll there. But the Aston Martin wasn't that great. Alonso was only 9th. 17th and 18th were Hülkenberg and Magnussen, the only drivers a lap down, showing how fantastic the Haas race pace is. 2 DNFs, or I guess 1 DNF. Ocon, I guess he retired in the pits. We didn't see him retire. And of course, Tsunoda did not start the race. Looking at the championship, Verstappen continues to build his lead, 364 points. He's getting very close to clinching that driver's championship. I believe it's still possible for them to clinch in Japan, but it may be Qatar. Second, Paris, 219 points. Third, Alonso, 170. Hamilton closed the gap though. Fourth, 164 points. Sainz moves up to fifth with 117. Leclerc, 111, and Russell drops down to 7th with 109. 8th is Norris with 79 points. Stroll was 9th with 47 points. 10th is Gasly with 37 points. 11th, Ocon, 36, tied with Piastri. 13th is Albon, 21 points. Continues to build that big points haul for Williams in the Constructors' Championship. At this point, I think they're going to be locked into 7th place, pretty much wholly thanks to Albon. 14th, Hülkenberg, 9 points. 15th, Bottas with 6 points. 16th, Zhou with 4. 17th, Tsunoda with 3. 18th, Magnussen with 2. 19th, Sargent with 0. And then on countback, Lawson moved his way up to 20th. 21st, De Vries, and 22nd is Ricciardo. So overall, pretty decent race. I thought we got a nice battle for the lead for basically 15 laps there. And we also had some good battles for the final podium position. So while overtaking was very difficult here, I think having the Red Bulls, the faster car in the race, starting behind the Ferraris, definitely made the race a lot more exciting. If it had been if it had been a Red Bull 1-2 to start the race, I think the race would have been a lot more boring. Would have been a lot less battles on track. Nonetheless, pretty good result, I think. And of course, I'll be giving my thoughts a little bit further in my power rankings tomorrow. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.